Wanting to take Greenland by force and being able to are two different things.
Winter warfare is one thing, because you can do winter warfare in Central Europe during winter time. But Arctic operations is actually one step up. Obviously, you would need special forces that are Arctic trained and prepared to operate to take certain very specific nodes like special forces often do. So that could be airports, communication centers and similar. But then they have to be replaced very quickly by, let's say, light infantry, paratroopers, airborne troops. And the challenge is that you might have enough to do that and you might have enough airlift capability. But then the next question is logistics. It doesn't really matter what kind of enemy we're talking about, poor in troops in the beginning, but then sustaining their operations, that becomes the challenge. In that kind of warfare, supplies are actually the critical factor. At -40, a number of oils, for instance, may not be liquid anymore. Different types of engines, different types of hydraulics, different types of mechanics doesn't actually work anymore.
Resupplying ground forces across this amount of ground means navigating huge distances.
The vast majority of the airports and the ports are on the western side, while Nuuk, the capital, is on the southern part of Greenland. The Pitufik space base is on the almost very northwestern part of Greenland. A ship that needs to go from the south to the north will take days, if not a week. The further north you go, the more ice there is. And then you need ice-classed vessels. The Russians have a very big capability in icebreakers and icebreaking vessels, while the Americans has almost none. It's a capability that they have gotten for the last, let's say, 30 years. So that means that the further north you go, the less you can actually supply your forward units or embarked units or deployed units or whatever you have in the north by ship.
Alongside this, an over-reliance on air supply is vulnerable to harsh weather conditions. Air power struggles too.
An F-35 will not be able to deploy from the south and go to the north and without refueling. Then you need to make sure that you can actually access tanker aircraft for the duration of the time.
An attacking force could take key cities and military installations in the north and south. For Russia to do that, it would have to get through layers of NATO defence in and around the Bear Gap and the Greenland-Iceland-UK Gap.
The issue is, if you're talking about it from a US perspective, it almost completely flips, because a lot of those defensive assets in terms of intelligence, maritime control, reconnaissance, etc., they're actually US assets. To resupply by sea, there are a lot of fjords, defensive choke points, which are easily denied to a potential attacker. It's pretty easy to shoot down a plane if you need to. There's a lot of military aircraft, NATO aircraft in the north, so that's very, very difficult. And also close to Iceland, which is a NATO military base. It means that the NATO has that covered, particularly from an early warning perspective. From the maritime control advantage, I mean, there is a lot of NATO activity surrounding Greenland. But again, that said, a lot of those advantages, if it's a potential US attack, and I use attack sort of lightly in the sense, that doesn't again really work, because a lot of the air superiority, a lot of the early warning are US assets, and then it just makes it much more difficult to defend from that position.
Taking Greenland by force would remind even the largest military powers on the planet just how challenging this part of the planet can be. But the US might not have to.
The Americans could take it actually very easily, because there are existing transatlantic reinforcement plans, NATO plans, and the agreement that they have with the Danish government from 1951 basically means that the US can put whatever forces they like into Greenland. So they've just put more forces gradually into Greenland, and then it's very, very difficult for NATO to say, well, hang on a second, when does this break a potential threshold? It doesn't meet the Article 5 definition, because Article 6 declares what an armed attack is, and that wouldn't actually be the case. It may be Article 4 consultations, and the Danes felt that they were certainly threatened by this, but it's far from clear where that potential line might be.
Thanks for watching. For more from BFBS Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.